The star-studded 2021 Netflix film Don't Look Up is getting all sorts of different reviews. What does it really mean, though, and how does it address one of the biggest issues faced by our society, as well as how a large majority of people reacts to being warned about said existential issue, is what we're going to be discussing in today's video. Beware, though, for there are spoilers ahead. If you haven't already watched the movie, well, what are you waiting for? What is Don't Look Up all about? The movie featured a star-studded cast including Meryl Streep, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill, Cate Blanchett, and even includes the likes of Timothée Chalamet and Ariana Grande in an attempt to talk about a deeply embedded issue that our world currently faces. The film talks about several major flaws in the way our society currently functions. It does so using elements of dark comedy intertwined with a fictional threat of an apocalyptic comet that's going to hit the Earth in 6 months and 14 days. This oddly specific timeline is set to give viewers a sense of urgency to act, which is something we often lack when dealing with a real-life existential threat. This comet, which is bound to collide with Earth, is discovered by a PhD candidate from Michigan State University, Cate Blanchett, played by Jennifer Lawrence, after whose name the comet is given. Directed by Adam McKay and co-written by David Sirota, this brilliant messed-up comedy has a much deeper meaning to it, and for some people, it hits like a ton of bricks being dropped on their heads. In order to figure out the actual meaning behind the film, it's important for us to first see what happens within the story of the film. The story of Don't Look Up. As the film begins, we're introduced to a world very similar to ours, where people are more concerned with the lives of and breakups and makeups between celebrity couples than they are interested in the happenings of the real world. It is a world where people are glued to their phones and spend their time being isolated from one another, lost to their virtual and mostly fake lives on social media. It's a world where an Ivy League school is considered to be a more credible source than other schools, such as Michigan State University. And why is that? Because the Ivies are known to be filled up by the elites and the children of elite alumni. This is also a world being led by seriously incompetent individuals, be it in a form of a president whose personality and actions resemble one seriously incompetent 45th president of the United States, as well as head of NASA, who, as it turns out, is actually no scientific expert at all, but a former anesthesiologist who also happens to be one of the top funders in President Orleans' campaign. The story begins when Cate Blanchett, an astronomy PhD candidate, does the exact opposite of what the movie title tells people to do and looks up, managing to find a comet that is headed directly towards the Earth and is approximately 9 kilometers wide. She alerts her professor, Dr. Randall Mindy, portrayed by DiCaprio, who takes the news to NASA. Even though the incompetent head of NASA tells them not to go crazy within the next 10 minutes, Dr. Oglethorpe of Planetary Defense Coordination Office also confirms the calculations of the two astronomers that the comet is headed into the Earth's direction and is bound to cause an extinction-level event. Dibiasky and Dr. Mindy are rushed to Washington, where after a long wait, they get to meet the president and her chief of staff and son, Jason Orlean, who tells them to sit tight and assess the situation. After this, the pair makes several unbelievably frustrating attempts at alerting the world to the inevitable doom that is soon to befall their planet. They fail to do that, and so they go home defeated. They are asked to return, being escorted with the help of the FBI, only to realize that the president now wants to announce the news of the comet to the world to shift their focus from scandals that threaten her re-election. What transpires afterwards is even crazier than the first quarter of the film, and you're going to have to watch it to find out more. The ending of Don't Look Up. As the film reaches its end, the human race realizes it has reached its very own end as well when they actually catch a glimpse of the comet hurling towards them. Despite a large majority of people having realized how real the threat was, there is still a significant number of people who refuse to look up and open their eyes to the lies of their beloved politicians who have been adamant about telling people don't look up. The planet gets destroyed in the end, and according to McKay, in denying the audience the usual feel-good conclusion that they get to experience in films like James Bond or other disaster movies like those from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he hoped to deliver a wake-up call to the people who continue to sleep through the very real threat that is climate change. The real meaning behind Netflix's Don't Look Up. As Leo describes, while the movie is rather satiric in nature, it also provides a terrifyingly realistic picture of mankind's tendency to push hard-to-swallow facts out of their conscious minds. Yes, the movie indirectly points to the fact that environmental scientists have been warning us for decades about that climate change is a really scary reality and it's soon going to become irreversible. Among human beings, especially when it comes to our governments, there is a sense of total oblivion when it comes to recognizing the long-term impacts of climate climate change. We are already seeing adverse effects of it, with global temperatures hitting new record highs and lows each year, but no real change appears to be coming through. Represented by a giant comet, the film portrays how the general public reacts to the issue of climate change and how the mainstream media would rather cover an A-list breakup than talk about how our planet, along with all life form on it, is going to be soon destroyed unless we take action right away. Of course, the situation is much more grim and dire in reality, because unlike a comet hitting our planet, the threat of climate change does not have a clear deadline, and the impacts of it are much more gradual in nature. The film manages to talk about one of the biggest threats to the existence of humankind, while having a dark tone to it and shine a much-needed light on the issue purely through satire. Not only climate change activist and star of the film DiCaprio agrees with this, but so do several of environmental scientists who came across the film. Climate scientists react to Don't Look Up. While a lot of critics were quick to spread hate about the movie, most probably identifying themselves with some of the characters portrayed in the film, the scientific community and the reception of the film contrasts starkly with the reaction from the haters. The community finally gets to talk about how infuriating it's been, being in the know about the adverse effects of climate change and trying to warn both the world leaders as well as the general public about its dangers, yet constantly being ignored and having their findings rejected as fake news. For decades now, researchers have been trying to have their voices heard and get the attention of political figures and media establishment regarding climate change, pointing out that it constitutes an extinction-level threat phenomenon which is capable of turning the current way of life of human beings upside down, if not causing for our species to cease to exist. These scientists feel the need to have every person watch the film and understand the message it's trying to showcase to its viewers. The film does not hide between subtleties, but rather throws everything out in the open for audiences to be able to easily interpret and grab the concept of. Michael E. Mann, one of the most prominent names in the field of environmental science in America, wrote in the Boston Globe about the movie and shared that McKay's movie is a success not because it entertains and makes us laugh, rather it is a serious socio-political commentary posing as a comedy. Marine biologist and co-creator of How to Save a Planet podcast, Anaya Elizabeth Johnson, tweeted about the film and shared that she has never felt more seen as she did while watching Lawrence and DiCaprio warn people about the world being in danger. She also shared that while she watched the movie, she felt anxious and sweat nervously, almost shouting at the screen to listen to the scientists in absolute frustration. Scientist Peter Gleek, a fellow of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences and winner of the Carl Sagan Prize for Science Popularization, shared that when people ignore the warnings of science and degrade and dismiss scientists, they threaten to put all life forms on the planet in danger. Oceanographer David Ho pointed to the fact that the film highlights several long-standing and deep-seated issues within and around academia, while Julia K. Steinberger, a professor in social ecology and ecological economics, wondered how many media and political and media figures would recognize themselves in the film, yet go on being the cheerleaders of the apocalypse. All in all, the film and the message it tries to convey hit a lot of people deeply and resonated with a large majority of the audience. Here's to hoping it somehow manages to bring forth some actual change, and we can prompt those in power to take serious action to try and reverse the clearly evident effects of climate change. That's a wrap for this video. What did you think about the movie? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.